I speak Russian. I'm an Armenian, but like 10 years ago I moved to Norway, and my working language is English, so sorry. It's a little bit difficult to talk and translate a lot of terms, so that's why I'm holding this in English. If you will have any questions afterwards, we can talk in Russian, so I can explain details if there will be anything. Thank you for introduction. So as you understood, I have strong background in backend, but mostly for enterprise solutions, like mobile companies, banks, finance companies. And some years ago, I tried to move to gaming because it was exciting and interesting. And attending a lot of conferences during last several years. Like the biggest, I think it's in Köln, a DevCom conference where a lot of developers are going. This year I was in St. Petersburg in White Nice conference and many others. So everyone is talking about nice and beautiful art, design and things, how it should look, how cool it should be. That's very beautiful, of course. A lot of people today also were talking, yesterday were talking about LiveOps, for example, users, graphics, sound, and whatever. So everything customer related, that's nice, good. But what is underneath? How to make it, how to deliver this? We are talking about LiveOps and analytics. How are you going to store it? How you are going to generate your analytics reports? Where from you get it? What kind of platforms? And I'm pretty sure, I was talking to some companies like they still hosting their servers in basement. Yeah, small startup, not much money. It's difficult with collocation. You should buy hardware still, collocate it somewhere. It's difficult to buy, maintain, and whatever. So I was really disappointed that almost no one was talking about backend. How to scale up, how to scale out. There are a lot of startups. They are starting the business, and they are not ready to grow at all. Yeah, the services are not scalable at all. So this is what mostly on conferences talking. And this is the classics, yes, the classic front-end design. You saw it probably everywhere. And then everyone complaining about backend. Backend is a mess. Backend mess in business, believe me. I'm 20 years in business. I was building backend for mobile companies, like which has millions of customers. I was building backend for small startups, like car washing application. Still, backend was a mess. Everywhere backend is mess, and no one is talking about it. Everyone, just check it. Everyone is talking about, let's have nice graphics. Yes, it will be nice, awesome, beautiful, a lot of sounds, cool. Everyone is running, everyone is shutting. You have plus 10 users, and that doesn't work because your API is not ready. You have no clue what's happening. How many of we have startups here and established companies, yes. How many of you have still hosting in your company, like physical servers in your company? Or in basement, I don't know. 1, 2? So everyone is in cloud. 100% in the cloud. Nice. Then I will talk about a lot of stuff, probably you can benefit more. Yesterday on one of the LiveOps talk, someone was talking about analytics, like creating charts and getting numbers. And there was a question, where from we get it? We have an app. How we can take this beautiful information from it? How we measure it? How you scale up? You are in cloud, good. How much of you can scale out like 10 times? Like tomorrow morning, your dreams come true and you have like 10 times more users. You have like 100 times more visitors, 100 times more payments. Don't tell me you are ready. I will not believe, because last week it was Black Friday. In Norway it's big event. Don't know if it's big event here. 50% of every portal which was selling online went down at least once during Black Friday. There are 90% in the cloud, but they still fail to scale out. 90%, 50% failed. The biggest retail I was working with, appliance in Scandinavia, it was down almost 8 hours. Payment was working, something was working, but the main website was down 8 hours, so they lost a lot of sales. 100% of selling online had issue. Small issues, at least with payments. Something for everyone went down. Banking was down for at least 30 minutes. So that's why I'm telling 100%, because I know one of the banks which is responsible for online transactions was down for 30 minutes during Black Friday. So it was like huge crisis. What's wrong there? Why they cannot scale out, scale up? Probably they scaled up. That's easy. We're scaling out, like increasing like your instances of your web API, your website, it's much more difficult. You need to have nice architecture. That's one thing. Another thing, where to store this information. People are playing your games. How much you know about your users, where you store it. Do you have all data from your game during the last 10 years? Can you store it somewhere? Can you build the reports? Like you have a shooter, you have an environment, you have a building where people are running and shooting. Do you know your popular room and how it changed during the last like 5 years? Do you know all paths people were running during the last 10 years in your building where they are shooting and running? How many bullets they have used? Where you can store, how much storage you have? Can you infinitely store that information? I was working with like mobile application, like, hey, we need to send 1 million SMS. Yes, let's send. After 2 days, I just coming like, 2 days ago we sent 1 million. There was an issue with one of the SMS. Can I check the text? No, you cannot. Why? Oh, we don't have that enough space to store this SMS. It's a mobile company. They don't store SMS for more than 2 days. They remove it because they cannot infinitely scale. It's not about infinitely. They don't keep data for a week even. So it was like disaster. The biggest amount of data I worked in Azure and logs, it was 19 petabytes. I have difficulties to count how much it is, but searching it was like, and generating reports for 19 petabytes like took minutes. How you store your KPI, because in games it's much more complicated than business application. What is business application? Yeah, take a list, show it list, update the list, create an order, purchase that, done. Business application, there's not much like send a message. Okay, that's much more. When we are talking about games, like everyone is running, shooting, jumping, and there are like much more information, much more graphics. It's much more complicated. And no one is talking about it. When you are going to business conference, everyone is talking about the cloud. Are you in cloud? That's the first question. Can you scale? What is your performance? Yes, good. Let's talk about it. That's business. Here, no one is talking about it. I was so disappointed. That's why I just talked to some people. I want to talk about it. Let's see if like it should be interesting for people because they're just hidden information. Why? Yeah, these beautiful things, but so what I want to do to change it, so backend will really awesome, because that's what will help you, and you know, the friendly effect. Like many years ago, before like what it was is like before Facebook, before LiveJournal, there was a extremely popular social media platform which was booming. It was called Friendly, but I don't think a lot of you remember it, even know about it. But it was booming. It went down in a month because they failed to scale out, and they just shut down the company. They just shut down because they couldn't scale out, and they did not have time to rewrite it. Just closed the company and lost millions of users. Easy. So how many of you just don't need to raise your hands, but how many of you just are able to scale tomorrow 10 times? You get 100 more users, 100%, 100 times more users. Can you scale it? You're having Black Friday, you have a Christmas campaign, just everyone is jumping on your games, just starting to buy something, it goes down. API becomes slow. It doesn't need to go down, it can be extremely slow. Same thing happened to Pokemon 2 years ago, 2.5 years ago. They launched, it was so successful. It wasn't responding for 2 days almost, it wasn't working. It couldn't scale out, it was so slow. People just were so disappointed. The main platforms in the cloud. Google, three main providers. Google, Microsoft Azure, and Amazon. Amazon and Microsoft are extremely similar. Then I will talk, my experience mostly Microsoft. So I will talk about Azure, and naming is in Azure, but you can always find something similar, but with the different name in Amazon. So it's the one easy. Google has its own politics, and just everything is built around the search. So if you, it's totally different mentality there. So it's different. But switching between AWS and Azure, it's pretty simple. When I'm talking about full stack of gaming, you really can benefit it from the first day of your startup to the end, like just to live operations. You start your planning in the cloud. That's for project managers. Your developers are doing the stuff in the cloud, the source in the cloud. You do testing in the cloud. You can run some tests, of course, locally on-prem, but testing in the cloud, builds, running builds running builds, release, hosting, monitoring, and measuring. So this is from idea you have, where you put your user stories, and planning to measuring and monitoring. Everything you can do. So just forget about servers running in the room or basement or whatever. And I'm not talking about mostly hosting virtual machines. I'm talking about really having native cloud experience. Yeah, it's not big difference. You can have on-prem in your basement, move it to the cloud. You tell you move to the cloud? No, you are fooling yourself. That's wrong. You still the same issue, same problem. You think you can scale out with the same performance as like if you host in functions or serverless? I will not believe. So journey starts with like DevOps, where your project managers creating user stories, tasks, bugs, later bugs, of course, and monitoring all your life cycle through DevOps. So there is LiveOps. First was DevOps. LiveOps is just something really new. So joined with developers and operations became DevOps. So just really, you don't need, you can scale down your people resources and host it everything there in Azure DevOps. For first thing, project management, your ideas. You put it in a backlog. You want Scrum, you have Scrum. You want Kanban, you have a Kanban there. So really nice tool for project management. Put all your ideas there, share between your team, share in your team, and it's really cool. Monitor all your performance with KPIs, how productive you are, how many bugs you had, how many user stories you have, how you are progressing with your epics, and like all the stuff. All like fancy project management stuff. That probably was boring, but I'm trying to cover all steps. Will be boring really for UI people who are really love drawing. No, this is not for these people. This is for people who are just really code and about performance, productivity, and stability. So it's project managers, analytics, LiveOps managers, whoever, except people who are driving, sounding, creating beautiful stuff. I don't tell they don't do anything. Yes, they do crazy stuff, which the only thing I cannot do probably, but it's the rest. So you have your Git, you have your build servers, you have your units, unit tests, integration tests, UI tests, scenario tests, whatever in the cloud. And it's about all kind of applications. I'm talking about mobile games. You can UI test mobile games in the cloud. It's complicated because of mostly iOS. But if you have Android application, there is mostly not issue. You have web game, HTML5 games, no problem. You just open in background, browser, write UI test, it works. So nice and smooth. Because I was on a project, I was on a project where tests were running for 3 hours. It's crazy. Build was taking 6 hours, and then 3 hours of unit tests, integration tests, and UI tests. So you cannot sit and wait while your server is busy. You put in the Git, you commit your stuff, it goes to the cloud, it takes time, it spawns the server, it creates a server, dedicated server for your code, it tests, builds, tests, and sends a report. It's good or no. One cool stuff, you don't need a build server during night, you just shut it down, save money. This is a lot about saving money. You don't need the same power during the night. When some people can work, yes. You keep one build server during the night, and you wake up 10 build server during daytime, so everyone is happy and use full experience of cloud and Azure DevOps. So building your Android web apps, Mac or iOS applications, test them in Azure DevOps. Signing, some applications need sign. You even can deploy to the store. It's fully automated. You just tested your code, you are happy. You push it into the cloud, and then it spawns, and when it's ready, all your tests are green. It's just pushing it to the Google Store or Apple, for example. You don't need to do anything. Yeah, first time you should do a lot of stuff, believe me, a lot of difficult stuff to connect DevOps with Google Store. And then forget. So you don't need to find someone. It's mostly how it's happening. Oh, we have new release. Now just find someone who is responsible, who has access to the Google Store, and push it there, waiting for approval and whatever. So it can be fully automated. So you have your code. It's ready to go. Where is your power? Where is your performance? Where is your data? This is everything except virtual machines. So do everything except virtual machines. That's my suggestion. It's the fooling part I was talking. Don't tell me you are in cloud one more time. If you are hosting their virtual machines, you are not in the cloud. You are in kind of limbo in between, and you have big problem. It's the most difficult, maintaining stuff in the cloud, which can be your virtual machines. Because I will not believe if you have a scenario and it cannot be solved in a way without virtual machine. Let's talk after this. If you have that scenario, we can review it. So, starting with web API, application and websites, ready to go, nice and scalable. So, service there. I want to separately mention the function serverless. It's extremely scalable, and it's perfect for microservices. Your games can be hosted as microservices architecture. The part of the service which is responsible for user authentication, for example. The part of the service is responsible for creating environment in your game. One of the service can be for payment, another service for storing information, another service for analytics. It's totally scalable and maintainable. And no servers. That's the cool part. You don't need to think about your performance. It scales like crazy. I will tell some numbers a little bit later. Where you store it, what kind of database you store it in SQL format, in SQL relational database, or it's just bunch of JSON files, because like settings and environment can be just environment description, how you store the wall, like you're building and shooting just in a part of the second, like this second, this environment, like describe this environment and save it. How you save it? Put it in JSON and keep it in the storage. So each time, each second you know, and you can restore the scenario just for testing, for example, for development, or just understanding your user. What's happening when people are playing this game? The data movement can be extremely complicated, and performance still the issue. Service bus and event hubs. You can base your microservices, for example, based on events, like purchases, saving settings, saving environments, delivering messaging. You have 1 million users. How fast and easily you can send email or SMS to them? Not to overload mobile operator, because if you send 1 million SMS in a second to your mobile operator, they will go crazy. They will not allow you, because if you can scale. Mostly they are not that scalable, so they will throttle you or just deny all your requests. How you slowly can send it? Just create 1 million SMS and just it can push to the mobile operator slowly and nicely, so everyone will be happy. Not talking about virtual machines. There are a lot of stuff you also can benefit. Full stack. As I said, AI, blockchain, identity, analytics. I will go through them all now. So, and talk about some gaming scenarios where you really can use it. So, I hope you at least you will get something outside of this session, which you can reuse, which you learned. So this is not a speech. I would tell this is a training, small training, introduction, and like how to expand your experience with games and infinitely mostly scale. Yes, and very important part. If you plan yourself on-prem in your basement or with virtual machines, you are responsible for all this crazy stuff like load balancing. It will be extremely difficult for create load balancing with virtual machines. It's not easy. Load balancing and geo-redundancy. If you have games which are like you are hosting where? In which part of the world? There can be power outage, network issues, gateway issues, I don't know, hardware failures. Then you lose it. And that happens. I know the companies which were not geo-redundant and they lost a lot of sales because like several hours of downtime even in a region. So they invested a lot of money and resources to become a geo-redundant. So I will go through each points, and I want to make a point that I'm talking about Microsoft Azure. It doesn't mean you should stay in Microsoft world. You don't need to code in .NET Core. You don't need to stay in Windows. No, it's about almost all kind of development languages. So you write your applications and API in Python, in Java, or Node.js, PHP, whatever. That's fine. Forget about Microsoft Azure. Think about it like as a cloud solution. It's Microsoft provided and code and style independent. The same way, you don't like Microsoft, move to AWS. Same thing. If it's it's serverless functions in Microsoft, it's something different in Amazon, but the idea is the same. Your API is for Linux or Windows, no problem. You choose. Whatever. You even don't care about operation system, nice. There are Dockers and Kubernetes. infinitely scale your API and websites as much as you want. It's not easy to set it up, Kubernetes, but it's, believe me, much more easier than you do it on-prem. Much more, and cheaper. So there with web apps and web API, scale out, scale up and scale out. So you know the difference, yes. In scale up, you increase CPU and RAM. Scale out, you increase the number of instances. So you decide. You have a campaign? Nice, no problem. You need much more power for several hours. Increase them. So after campaign, you scale it down. So you pay less. You don't need to think about your hardware. You don't have enough users during night time. You don't need to pay much. Scale it down. Save money. So you can save like 50%. Not 50, but 20, 30%. You can really save on power. So there are really money on it. Just put a nice scheduler. You can schedule it. No problem. You can set a metrics, and with your settings, it can check if a CPU is not used for 80%. It's like it uses 5% of CPU. Why you need so many cores? Just scale it down. Pay less. No problem. Use SignalR for real-time communication between people. In games, there are online chats. They are just running. You need to communicate just synchronously and nice. WebSockets, no issues, and it's still scalable. So just one server can easily support 1,000 parallel connections, or active connections, because they can be idle, no problem. You don't use the resources, but active 1,000 connections per instance, that's a lot. Which scenarios you can use your website is clear in which scenarios. It's nice UI or whatever. Web API in which scenarios. API profile requests, match create, manage game settings, chat, in-game navigation, purchases, feedback, profile download, game state request, and save. You're just saving games, like environments, all kind of settings and current state. Serverless, it's almost the same API, but on steroids, on crazy steroids. In case of you have web API on the instance, it's nice. It's one instance, or you should think about scaling, you should schedule it, whatever. On serverless, you just forget about everything. It will do all the stuff for you. It scales out, in, whatever, up, down, as you get more or less users. The only thing, it's sessionless. You can so two requests don't know anything about each other, because one request, it's the same game, one request goes to one server, another request goes to another server. You don't control it, so there is no connection between them. So things like SignalR is complicated there, but they can have a common backend like storage or SQL database or Oracle base, whatever. And you have, for this one, scales up 200 instances, which in parallel can support like thousands of connections, thousands of requests, and 1 million requests are free per month. So it's mostly more than enough for testing or building it. So you pay $0, for creating your games and hosting it in your test environment. I don't think you will have, like, even startups. You create, like, you're hosting, like, I was building chess application, yes, where I am hosting a stockfish algorithm for AI. My AI for chess is stockfish algorithm, and it's hosted in serverless functions. How much I pay? I don't think I will have 1 million moves for now, at least, while it's just beta version and just testing, learning it. So I'm hosting like whole chess solution for free. 10 million, how much it will cost for you, you think? It's 1 million was free, 10 million. It's like, I think it was like less than $1. So it's extremely cheap. You can run serverless on schedule. You can run serverless on events. some changes in profile, something happens somewhere, no problem. It wakes up, it takes and more things does it your job. If you need to fire and forget, for example, it's a nice thing to do. You upload a file, for example, serverless there, it will process very nice and will not bother your more important API like profile, where people operate, users operate with their profiles, for example. You can still use it for profiles or whatever. It's the same kind of API, but as I said, on steroids and much more cheaper. Your nice architecture, I was talking about microservices architecture. If you put in the middle of your microservices the service bus and events, it will be much more robust and much more performant. You will not need to hammer and overload your some services or providers. Some purchase companies, like the way you perform your purchases, like the money or transactions, they don't like too much calls, they will throttle you. Nice place to put it on service bus and slowly do it. It's extremely useful for enterprise messaging, for example. You have a telemetry, no problem. As I said, as a scenario I taught at the beginning, you have huge amount of data coming from your mobile applications. You have like 10,000 users now playing game, and you want to know about everyone now. What's happening? In which room shooting more now? It's almost unrealistic, but Event Hub was created specially for that one, which can handle 1 million requests per second. So it's crazy analytics and telemetry is happening there. It mostly was designed for IoT, but why not to use it in the games? And this can be live streamed to your monitoring applications, where you can just real time see what's happening and learn. First two are pull models. You get an event, someone should read that event. You want to be more aggressive? No problem. There is an event grid which will push it. So you choose. And that's extremely easy to set up. So it will take 2-3 minutes to set up. And that's all. It's really nice, scalable. Event Hub, even geo-redundant. Service Bus has some issues with geo-redundancy, but it's easily solvable. So the event scenarios, you can work with Service Bus, for example, or Event Hub. Messaging, as I said, telemetry, logging. How much of your logging you process from your mobile application? Can you log every button click? I'm not talking about third-party websites or companies which you can send your telemetry and they will create the charts. I'm talking about raw logs. The person is running in your environment, in your game, you log each step. You know the path of each your player during the last 10 years. How detailed is your logging? Do you have a place or engine to store that information? How to process this information? Can your API handle 10,000 parallel running gamers? I don't think so. Not everyone can do this. Not everyone for ready. Maybe some of them. Okay, how much of them you store it, and how long you store it? Do you know 10 years ago this customer was running this path? This is it's huge amount of data. We are talking terabytes per day, maybe, if you have a big, nice application, big, cool game. Yes. That information is coming, where to store it. SQL databases, nice. 10,000 records, 1 million records. It will work, probably. You get 10 times more customers, 10 times more users, gamers. SQL goes down. Transactions slower, performance bad, so not the best issue. You can store your environment information in SQL, for example, Microsoft SQL or MySQL, but that's the wrong place to do it. Like how well it will operate with your JSON files, for example, which you store it. With your logs, it's not the place. Nice thing to store profiles there, no problem. Cosmos DB, huge. The place where I was working with 19 petabytes of information, Cosmos DB, huge amount, stored, infinite storage, infinite document storage, non-relational database. That one is a little bit expensive. Table storage, blobs, where you store your nice graphics, where you store nice images, videos, sound, put them in blob. People are uploading some pictures, profile images, nice place to store it, blobs. Going to analytics. The thing is like the place where everyone is talking live ops, where from you get your user information, how you process your reports. You put some raw logs in Cosmos DB, but they are, or just in blobs, just raw logs. How you transform your logs into something maintainable and readable. You have like 10 years logs. What you can do there, how you find what information you need. But you can process and make it nice warehouse information and create your reports for live ops, for example. Was it something else? Yeah. Caching and CDN. Yeah, you have a lot of images, same content. Why overload your API and deliver content through API? It's expensive, and performance will go down for your API immediately. There is no need. You put your images, content, and all media to CDN. You can put JSON files like settings to CDN and not overload your API, and it's extremely cheap. So I need to rush a little bit. It's a huge topic, this cloud computing, but I want to make an introduction, and so you can take it more when you will just investigate into it and learn more about the technologies I was talking. But that's why I will rush a little bit. So storage is important. A lot of companies have issues when database is growing, when number of users is growing. I had mobile operators which was too small, just startup mobile operator which had 200,000 customers. SQL was nice, no issues. First year, second year, they were successful. They grew 3 times. SQL went down. It just couldn't handle that amount of information. It was perfect. For 200,000, 600,000, it was super slow. They didn't think they will grow in a year 3 times. Just 3 times. It's not much. As I said, images, blobs, nice thing. And your analytics is moving to Lake, the Azure Lake, and CDN. What else? That's not only API, that's not only storage. As I said, there is everything. So I really will be surprised about your virtual machines. AI providers, you need an AI, no problem. I had a case where they needed fraud checking. Because there was a lot of fraud, so you can train your AI for fraud. You separate the fraud, and your AI will catch bad guys for you, no issue. Blockchain, you have some custom idea for blockchain using your own, build it. There is already SDK and API available for you, documentation, a lot of stuff there. Bots for your games, people want to chat with someone, create your bot. The platform is there. You need to just improve it. SMS, email, API management gateway. You don't like someone who is bombing you with DOS attack. You don't like this country. You don't like this API. No problem. Just close it. And that's simple. Identity management, where you store your passwords for B2C and B2B. For your clients who are calling you for your mobile applications, all this authentication information can be stored in identity. And the key vaults as well. You have secrets. Oops. You have secrets, for example, and keys, certificates where really problem. You cannot store it in the blob. You cannot store it on the build servers. Nice. You have a key vault for this, where everything is encrypted and nicely managed, traced. You need the backups, there's a backup solution. You need a workflow, there's a logic ops. Just, you don't like to write code, software, no problem, but you need an integration. Create a logic app which will take your information from one source, like game environment or self profile or save settings, for example, or change somewhere. It will react on your change, it will process with workflow and store it any way you need. Okay, I was not going to talk about this, but if you are really that crazy and going to virtual machines, still after that I was talking about, don't use it. You have a lot of you have a lot of choice for virtual machines, except Apple probably. They don't like virtualization. But you have Linux, Unix, CentOS, Windows, of course, and even a lot of scenarios with already ready-to-go databases, for example, or applications already set up. You just have a huge list, you select from it, or you just take clear snapshot and set up everything yourself. So I don't talk about this much. You have your game, nice. Everyone, you are live, you are done, you have released. Now you want to know how is it going. That's one of the tools. I was really disappointed no one is talking during live ops. Measure this, measure that. Know your customer. Like, how? Where from to get this? How your live ops manager is going to understand what's happening? What kind of tool? Yes, there are some gaming-oriented applications, websites, but they're extremely narrow. What if you really want to own your data? What if you have a bunch of logging information and you want to understand your customer? You want to understand your gamers. You want to understand how they are performing, what they are really doing. Just Power BI, another solution from Microsoft. It's online. It's extremely cheap. It has even free desktop applications, so you don't need to buy it. Just connect your application to your data. Connect to your warehouse. Get the log information and show it. Monitor and KPIs. This has also live streaming. So it gets information from your service bus, and you real time can look what's happening in your game. 10,000 players are playing with it. You stream it into Power BI. You real time watch it. What's happening? You monitor. You know your customer. Where from it can get it? Almost from everywhere. It has. I missed. There's even Excel. You can get it even from Excel, but it supports all major analytical databases like SQL analysis service. It has Oracle. It has IBM Netessa. It's extremely powerful analytical database where from your live ops manager can really get it. So that's the tools you learned already from previous sessions. What you need in your live ops, what you need to monitor. Now I tell you how to do this, where to store it, what kind of tools to use to understand your customer and your gamers. Recently released portal, especially oriented for gaming. It has almost the same full stack. I talked about it, but this is a huge topic. I won't just spend your time, look into it. It's easy. It's not very expensive, and it has everything for gaming. All your live ops strategy, coding, monitoring, or whatever. So it will provide you really good backend. It's Microsoft solution, which is still based on Azure and cloud computing. There is also even free version for it, free service. Yeah, take your time, look into it.